Laura Koski, and I'm an international life and relationship coach. I coach in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. The reason I speak all these languages is because I was born in Finland, grew up in Venezuela, then I studied university in Boston, then Miami, and now I'm in Dublin, Ireland. So I consider myself a citizen of the world. I love coaching. I love coaching, and I love coaching around relationships. So I'm gonna start the present. Oh, sorry, Baron, you have to make me a co-host so that I can share my. So, oh wait, share screen. Hold on, let me see. Am I a co-host or I think?
Now
Hold
you
on,
are.
maybe. Oh yeah, yeah. I found it. I found it. Yeah, I found it. Okay. All right. Okay. So healthy relationships. So first I'm going to talk about relationships in general. And then I'm going to talk about the difference between healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. And if you've come to my talks before, the first part will be will be repetitive, but I think that they're very important and like basic principles for relationships in general. So I think it's a good thing to repeat these things because many times, the most obvious things many times can be, the most difficult things as well, like to kind of embody. So yeah. All right. So, what's the most important thing to attract a fun and loving relationship and healthy relationship? Like you need to embody that energy yourself first, right? Like you need to be fun and loving and healthy and really like it's all about like having a healthy relationship within yourself, right? With yourself. That's the only way that you're going to attract another person, to have a healthy relationship as well. So when you feel happy and positive, you attract this, the law of attraction, you're going to attract into your life, how you feel, right? So if you want to meet a happy and positive person, you need to be that happy and positive person first, right? There's a saying that says, become the person that you want to be with, right? So it's like if you want a happy and positive if you feel sad and depressed, you're not going to attract a happy and positive life in you're not going to attract a happy and positive person into your life. You're going to attract another, sad and depressed person into your life. So you really need to embody the type of energy that you want to attract into your life. And then when you feel sad and negative, you attract this, somebody else that's sad and negative, and then you can complain about everything that's wrong with the world, together. So so the most important thing is to feel complete and fulfilled within yourself. Like that's always the key. When something isn't working in your life or like when relationships are not working in your life, instead of, pointing the finger at other people and trying to figure out what's wrong with the other people, like look at yourself, look at the relationship that you have with yourself. So that's like everything starts and ends with you, right? Because the only common denominator in any relationship that you've had is you, right? Like the other people, change, the other people come and go, but the one common denominator is you in all of your relationships. So the goal is to feel like this, right? Like alive and full of life and energy, like this picture shows. So the stories that we tell ourselves define our reality, right? So this is a really important part. So, what story are you telling yourself about love, about relationships, about your past, and about yourself? One exercise that I do a lot, like with my coaching clients, is at the beginning we look at these stories. Like I ask them, to make a to kind of like write down what their story is, right? Write down what the story is of yourself, about love and about relationships, and these stories, they really show a lot about how the person thinks about themselves and relationships and men and or women, right? Depending on who they want to attract into their life. So these stories like play a critical role in, like, how you feel about yourself and relationships and the type of, relationships that you'll attract into your life, right? So I mean, if you've gone through, a breakup and a heartbreak, and I think that we've all gone through some kind of heartbreak or breakup at some point. So there's different stories that you can tell yourself. One story is, you know I lost the love of my life and I'm going to be alone forever and I'm never going to find a love like that again. Obviously that kind of story is very negative, and it's going to close, doors for you and any opportunities of a new relationship. But then you can tell yourself another story, which would be, well, I had this relationship, I learned a lot from this relationship, and the next relationship will be better, right? So that story is a lot better. That story is full of, possibilities and opportunities. So really, like, it's an interesting exercise for everybody to do. Like, really take a look at what kind of stories you're telling yourself. And if you're telling yourself a negative story, find a way to turn it around. You can't change what happened in the past, but you can change the story that you're telling yourself about what happened to the past, and that's key. That's key to changing things and to move forward with your life. So yeah, so if the stories, lift you up, great, keep telling yourself that story. But if they bring you down, change that story. And remember that you always have the power to change those stories. Even if you've been telling yourself the same story like 20 or 30 years, you can still change it. So so you can experience both sides. You can go from total devastation, after going through like a heartbreak, to finding yourself and love again, right? Which is the ultimate goal. So again, the stories and recovery, your recovery can be long, because of the story that you're telling yourself, or it can be shorter, again, depending on what kind of story you're telling yourself. So your story can be constructive or destructive. So choose wisely and choose a constructive story, right? That will help you move forward with your life and relationships. So what are some ways that you can become more fun and loving now? Laugh every day. Laughter truly is the best medicine. And especially now, like in these crazy, COVID times with lockdowns and restrictions, I think it's even more important to laugh now. And I mean, you can laugh at so many things. I mean, you can watch silly movies, you can watch comedians, you can laugh with your friends, just like, find the joy in life again, and I know that it's not easy in this year, but there's always something to be happy about. There's always something to be grateful about. And there's always find joy in little things. Like if you have a cup of coffee, like really enjoy the cup of coffee. Just like enjoy life more. Dance. You can, I know that now, you can't, in most places you can't go dance to play in places, but you can even just dance like in your living room, or you can, dance while you're cooking. I mean, sometimes I do that. I dance while I'm while I'm cooking. Go out with your friends, of course, depending on, the restrictions that you have in your area. Have an attitude of gratitude, and this is really important. Like every day, think of 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for, right? And these things can be like really small things, and they can be really big things. I mean, you can be grateful for, a glass of water, the air you breathe, to like, some future plans, that you're making. So and it's a great exercise to have like a gratitude journal, where every day you write down like, 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. And then, if you're having a bad day, you can go back to that journal and see like all the great things that you've written before, you know? So that's a really good practice to do. And when you focus on the things that you have and that you're grateful for, you're going to attract more things into your life to be grateful for. So, it has, you focus on abundance and you don't focus on lack, because whatever you focus on will grow in your life, right? So if you focus on abundance, you'll get more abundance in your life. If you focus on lack, on everything that's missing, you're going to get even more lack into your life. So say nice and positive things to yourself, become your own best friend. Many times we tend to be our own worst enemies. We can say horrible things to ourselves, especially when things don't work out the way that we want things to work out. So yeah, so become your own best friend. I think that that's key. That should be like everyone's, motto. I am my best friend. And focus on what you have and not on what you don't have, because then, you'll attract more good things into your life. So, positive self-talk. So this is really important, the positive self-talk, because the way that you talk to yourself is, you're telling, the world, the universe, the people around you to talk to you this way, right? So if you're constantly saying bad, negative things to yourself, if you're saying, like I'm too old, I'm too, like I'm a loser, like nobody loves me, and all of these horrible things, then that's the kind of energy that you're putting out into the world, and that's the kind of energy that's going to come back to you, right? So your self-talk is super important. And many times, when clients come to me, and looking for a new relationship, I always tell them, well, the first relationship that we have to work on is the one with themselves, right? Because that's where everything starts. But one of the first things that we look at is their self-talk, right? And many times, like many times people have incredibly negative self-talk, right? So if you're saying horrible things to yourself all the time, if you're walking down the street just thinking like how horrible you are and what a loser you are and nobody likes you, then that's definitely not good. Then that's the energy that you're putting out into the world, and like you're basically making it impossible to like attract a nice relationship if you're saying these kind of things to yourself. So so look at your self-talk. Is it mostly is it mostly positive or mostly negative? If it's mostly positive, keep saying all the great things to yourself. But if it's mostly negative, find a way to turn it around. Like when you catch yourself starting to say something negative to yourself, like catch that thought and find a way to turn it around. And if you use humor, that's a really good way of turning things around. You can kind of like make fun of yourself, for being like, oh my God, there I go again, saying something, horrible to myself. So yeah, so really think about what kind of self-talk you have. So remember to be kind and loving towards yourself, right? Because the only way, like if you're kind and loving towards yourself, then you'll attract somebody into your life that will also be kind and loving towards you. So ways to get more empowered. Again, self-love and self-acceptance, that's the most important part in everything. I think that's, self-love is something that we all need to work on every single day. It's the most important thing that we need to do, and many times it can be the most difficult thing to do as well, especially when you're going through a hard time. Especially like if you're going through a breakup, that's when it's even more important, to love yourself and to accept yourself. Exercise is really important. You can exercise in so many different ways, and when you exercise and you move your body, it's like you don't let the energy like stagnate, like in your body. Getting out of your comfort zone. We tend to be creatures of habit, and we tend to do the same things over and over again. So it's good to get out of your restaurants and shops. Go to a new place. Take a new class. I mean, I know that now it's difficult because of the state of the world. But it's not going to last forever. This situation is not going to last forever. But even now, you can think of like things that you can do to get out of your comfort zone, and take a new class, or take a dancing lesson. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. And when you get out of your comfort zone, it's like the magic happens outside of the comfort zone, right? So magic doesn't usually happen in the comfort zone. It happens outside of your comfort zone when you step out and you do different things. Choose to be around positive people. You always have a choice, like who you choose to have in your life, right? So you can choose, to be around positive people. And if you choose to be around positive people, then that positivity will have an impact on you. then you can also choose to be around negative people, and obviously that's going to have like a negative impact on you as well. Have an abundant mentality. Always focus on abundance and what you do have, and not on what you don't have. Have goals. It's great to have goals. Know like the kinds of things that you want to achieve in your life. Think positive thoughts. And then always remember that you only control yourself. Like in any situation, you can only control yourself. You can't control anybody else. So that's important to remember. You are your own judge. Many times people are wondering, they're wondering how other people are judging them. Like what's this person going to think of me, and what's society going to think of me? And the truth is that everybody's trying to live their lives in the best possible way that they can. And like all these people that you think are judging you, they're not judging you, because they're all just trying to live their own lives. So I think that that kind of, it's kind of like a freeing thought in a way, that, oh yeah, well maybe, all those people that I think are judging, they're not judging their own lives. Meditation, chanting, singing, those are great things to do as well. When you meditate, you chant and you sing, you kind of like get more in touch, within yourself, right? And you kind of like learn to, listen to that inner voice, that gives you guidance in all aspects of life. Take responsibility for your own life. Your life is your responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility. It's not your parents' responsibility, not your partner's responsibility, not your friend's responsibility. So if you want to change something in your life, if you want to change your life, the only person that can do it is you. You know, Nobody else can do it for you. So that's a good point to remember. Positive affirmations in the present tense. You can say a positive affirmation of something that you want. Like if you want a relationship, even if you don't have the relationship, yeah, you can say, thank you for the lovely relationship, that I have in my life. And kind of, with all of your senses, kind of like feel how you would feel if you were in that relationship already, right? Like how would you feel? Like what would you see? What would you hear? What would you taste? What would you smell? What would you touch, right? So really, like, get into that feeling of being in that relationship already with all of your senses. And that way you're kind of magnetizing that relationship into your life already, even though it's not there yet. um have a positive theme song. When you're walking down the street, like what song is playing in your head. If the happy song is playing in your head, like that's a very positive theme song. Your body language, be aware, like what kind of signals, what kind of messages are you giving to the world, like through your body language. Because we communicate a lot more through body language than through words. The power of your beliefs. Really look at what you believe, like, about yourself and relationships and men and women. And then the law of attraction. We're always attracting things into our lives. We're either attracting good things into our lives or negative things into our lives, because the law of attraction is always working, whether we're aware of it or not. Mirror work. So what matters most is how you see yourself. And I love this picture of this cat that looks in the mirror and sees a lion, right? So obviously, the cat feels really good about itself, and it's like really confident. And even though it's a cat, he feels like a lion. So Louise Hay had this used to do mirror work. So you look in the mirror and you say like I love you to yourself, right? It sounds really silly, but it can be a very, very powerful exercise. And this is something that you can do by yourself. You don't have to, look in a mirror like in front of like lots of people and do this, right? But so it's not about looking like a supermodel, it's about feeling like one, right? Because like, the most attractive quality that anybody can have, whether it's a man or a woman, is confidence. When you're confident, you become super attractive. And the least attractive quality that you can have is neediness. When you like, and for example, like if you need a relationship too much or you need a person too much, people can sense that, and they run away from you, right? So think about like the difference of, between being confident and between being needy. So letting go in all ways of the past, emotionally, psychologically, and physically. Many times people say that they want to find a new relationship, but then at the same time they're still holding to the past. They could be holding, they can be, still thinking about like an ex from the past, or just, thinking about, everything that went wrong in the relationship, or just thinking about everything that they did with this person in this relationship. So you need to let go of the past in all ways for there to be room for a new person and experiences to come in. So when you think and talk about the past, this is what happens. It doesn't allow you to move forward. So it's hard to fly when something is weighing you down. And when the past is weighing you down, I mean, this is what it feels like. It feels like, you're like a butterfly that's trying to fly, but you're attached to a rock. So yeah, so it's very important to let go. So make peace with the past and forgive. Happiness comes from within and it's found in the present moment by making peace with the past and looking forward to the future. It's important to make peace and forgive everyone in your past, but the most important person to forgive is yourself. And many times it's the most difficult person to forgive as well, right? Like many times it's a lot easier to forgive other people, like ex-partners, but then it's really, really like difficult to forgive yourself for whatever mistakes you feel that you made in the past. So that part, it's really important to forgive yourself and to be, compassionate with yourself. So letting go of the past physically, it's good to let go of physical things from the past, like gifts from your ex, for example. And I mean, I'm not saying that you need to let go of all the gifts that an ex has given you, but it depends on how emotionally charged these gifts are. Like for example, like an engagement ring or a wedding ring, like those would be very emotionally charged. So it's a good idea to let go of things like that. So forgiveness. So it's important to forgive yourself and your exes as well. And it's important to remember that forgiving doesn't mean that you're saying that what they did was right. You're saying that you're not gonna be affected by it anymore, right? So actually, like by forgiving somebody, you're actually giving a gift to yourself, right? So there's a very powerful forgiveness meditation that I do. I mean, we're not going to do it now, but I mean, you can do it like in your own time if you feel drawn to it. You close your eyes and you visualize a person or a circumstance that you're ready to forgive. And then, you can kind of, close your eyes and you focus on your heart, and then you visualize the person or the circumstance, and then you say, thank you, I forgive you, and I release you with love. And you just keep on repeating this, over and over again. It's incredibly powerful and incredibly healing. I've done this forgiveness meditation, like with very, very large groups of people, and a lot of people get very emotional. I mean, people start, crying, and like it's really, really powerful. It's really powerful. So if you feel like you're ready to forgive somebody and let them go, like I would do that forgiveness meditation. All right. So characteristics of healthy relationships. This is what we all want, right? Like we all want healthy relationships. So the first thing is mutual respect. You have to respect each other, and you have to yeah, like you have to value each other and like understand the other person's, boundaries, right? And many times, when you're thinking about a relationship, many times people start thinking about like all the superficial things that they want. But when you're thinking of the type of qualities that you want in a relationship, it's really good to focus on values. What are the values that are important to you? And that would be a good exercise for everybody to do. Write down like a list of values. Like, and values can be anything. I mean, honesty, respect, loyalty, these are all values. So really think about, what is important to you? Like, what are your values? And yeah, so focus on the values instead of focusing, like all the physical aspects. And of course, I mean, of course you have to be attracted to whoever you're going to be with. But I mean, the values, like for a relationship to last like long term, the shared values are extremely, extremely important. And that's what's going to determine, if a relationship will last. The shared values and like the shared, dreams and visions of the future, right? Like the future life together. Um, Trust. So trust is really important. So you have to be able to trust, whoever you're with. And I know that trust can be like a very tricky issue, especially, if you've been with a partner, that's, cheated on you like in the past. I know that, trust can be, can be difficult. But I mean, it's key. It's key to, to have a healthy relationship. Honesty. Honesty builds trust and strengthens the relationship. I mean, like, if you truly want to have like a good healthy relationship with somebody, there has to be honesty. Because there's no point in being in a relationship if you're not going to be, honest. I mean, I know that there's people that are in relationships or are married and then they have like affairs on the side. I mean, like, I personally don't understand it, but I know that it happens, a lot, but then again, like it goes back to what are the important values to you, right? So, honesty is definitely important in a healthy relationship. Compromise. In every relationship, you have to compromise, right? And I think that that's one of the tricky ones to kind of find like that balance, right? Like how much will you compromise? Like, will it be like 50-50? And that's something that, each person individually has to decide, like, how much are you willing to compromise? And again, like good communication with your partner, comes into play with that. So yeah, so when you're in a relationship with somebody, you're not always going to get your way, right? So it's like it's important to try to find that balance, right, of compromise. And to, of course, acknowledge, different points of view, and also to have a relationship where you give and you receive, right? Because if you have a relationship where somebody like gives all the time and doesn't receive, and then the other way, then it's not balanced, right? So like, if I were to say that one of the most important words in a healthy relationship is balance. Like balance is the key with everything. So yeah, and that goes with compromise. So individuality. So of course, when two people, start a relationship together, it's kind of like, two people like with their individual, characters and their individual backgrounds. And then when they come together in a relationship, it's kind of like, it's like you have the two individual people and then you have the relationship, right? So it's kind of like you know, three different like energies in a way, right? But then you always have to remember that, yeah, that even though, two people are in a relationship, they still have like their, individual, personalities and characteristics and quirks, right? So yeah, and it's also important in a relationship, of course, when you're in a relationship, you're going to do things together, and of course, that's great. But I think that it's also important, to also, have a life outside of that relationship. Like make time to go out with your friends, and make time, to pursue like your, whatever interests or hobbies you have, right? So like don't yeah, I think that that's, I think that the best relationships are, where of course, it's like two strong empowered people come together, and of course they're going to do things together, but it's also important to do things apart as well, right? And that way you don't become like too codependent, and like, and you don't become like too needy, right? You don't like, yeah, because codependency, like if you need each other too much, like to the point that you can't do anything like, your own things without your partner, that's not very good or healthy. So yeah, so remember, remember that you're also an individual in the relationship. So good communication. I mean, good communication is definitely, key to a healthy relationship. And yeah, I mean, speaking honestly and openly, to avoid miscommunication. And many times when people have like different ways of dealing with conflicts, right? Like there's people that when there's a conflict, like they'll talk about it right away and say, okay, like I don't like this, this bothers me. And then there's people that kind of they don't say when things bother them, and then it starts like building up and building up and building up inside of them, and then all of a sudden one day they just like explode over something ridiculous, like spilled milk or something like that, right? So everybody has like different ways of like communicating something that they're not happy with, right? So it's good to to keep the communication levels like open, right? And if you notice that something has bothered your partner, ask him or her, like, okay, well, did that bother you, and why did it bother you? So just keep the communication open, because before a breakup happens, you know there's always like a loss of communication, like a communication breakdown, which then leads to the breakup. So communication is key. Anger control. We're all going to get angry, and everybody expresses it like in different ways. But anger control is, it's very important, because of course, if you have a big fight and somebody gets very angry, I mean, that can cause all kinds of all kinds of bad feelings, between the partners. So anger can be handled in different ways. Like, if you're angry, you can take a couple of like deep breaths, like in and out. You can count to 10. You can go for a walk. I mean, there's many different things that you can do for anger. And of course, like if the anger is really bad, then there's like you can go to anger management, or go to therapy to control your anger. Fighting fair. Like everyone argues at some point in relationships. And many times, when there's fights and arguments, people will start blaming each other and bringing things from the past. But always try to stay as calm as possible. I mean, I know that that's easier said than done, especially like if it's a very like heated issue. But try to be fair. And if things really like escalate, and if fight gets really bad, like walk away from it. Many times that helps, like to kind of like step away from it, and then come back with a clearer head. Problem solving. Like when you're in a relationship, and you have a problem, like the best thing is to kind of talk about the problem, and do like a brainstorming together of like, okay, like we're in this together, like how do we solve this, and that also works like to bond you more, right? You become closer when you solve a problem together. Understanding. Of course, like it's always good when you're when you're understanding of your partner as well, and you're not like too harsh or critical. Self confidence. Again, I mean, like going back to the what I mentioned about confidence earlier. It's the most attractive quality that anybody can have. So yeah, so the more self-confident you are, the better everything in your life will flow, right? And you'll feel like more comfortable, like saying things in a relationship, right? Like the more confident you are. So yeah, so that's always good to work on your confidence. Being a role model for each other, and this also goes to, like one really nice aspect of being in a relationship with somebody is that you can learn like so many new things, like from a partner, right? Like, I mean, it's a constant learning process, even, being in a relationship, but you can teach each other like new things, and that's a really nice part of being in a relationship. And then, of course, like a healthy sexual relationship as well, right? Like a healthy sexual relationship where both partners feel comfortable, doing everything that they're doing, like, sexually, and nobody's like pressuring, somebody to do something that they're not comfortable with. So unhealthy relationships. So in unhealthy relationships, if somebody is controlling the other person too much, that's definitely very unhealthy. If one person in the relationship is making, all the decisions and is telling the other person what to do and what to wear and who they can see and who they can't see, and if they're, very jealous and tries to isolate the other person, I mean, that is a huge red flag. That is a huge red flag. And many times, when relationships, when a person turns, violent, one of the first things that they usually do at the beginning is that they start like controlling the person, and then they become violent. So the control issue is a huge red flag. Hostility, and hostility can take like many different forms. It's, in a way, it's like if somebody starts, putting the other person down, that's not nice. And many times when somebody's trying to put somebody else down, it's because they feel bad. They feel bad themselves, so they're putting somebody else down to try to make themselves feel better in a way. So that's definitely not a nice thing to do in a relationship. Dishonesty, of course, like if you're, dishonest, like if you're in a relationship and, having affairs on the side, I mean, that's definitely not healthy. Disrespect, like if you have a partner that disrespects you, and it does that, makes fun of you, and, yeah, just shows all kinds of disrespect, that's definitely not nice. Dependence. So this is a really important thing, and this is something that I mentioned earlier. So, when you feel like you can't live without the other person, that's definitely not healthy. That's definitely not healthy, because in a way, if you put so much pressure on one person and on your partner, and if you say things to them like, oh my god, like, I can't live without you, and if you leave me, I wouldn't know what to do, and, I would die, and all of this, I mean, that's definitely not a good thing at all, and it's like it's the least attractive thing that you can do, like being so incredibly, dependent on somebody. So yeah, so always, whether you're in a relationship or whether you're single, like, your individual independence is very important, and especially in a relationship. I know that when you're in a relationship, many times, it can be very easy to lose yourself in a relationship, right? That you become, you identify with the relationship so much that it kind of, that you feel that it defines you as a person. And of course, when you're in a relationship, of course it's part of your life, but it shouldn't be the only thing in your life, right? So it's important to keep a balance between everything in your life, including relationships. Intimidation. Again, that's when somebody starts, trying to control you too much. That's a very big red flag. And intimidation usually can lead to physical violence. And of course, if there's physical violence, I mean, you know, um, like they say that, if somebody, like the first time, if somebody hits you, you should leave right away. Because if there's a first time, there's going to, most likely there's going to be a second time and a third time and so forth. So yeah, so with physical violence, like it's good to act very fast and get out of that situation if it happens. And then of course sexual violence, of course, like that's very unhealthy. So the most important relationship that you're ever going to have is with yourself. And all the other relationships in your life are a reflection of the relationship that you have with yourself. So, the relationship with yourself is something that you should work on every day, you know, every day. And remember to be your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy. Say nice things to yourself. And even if you do something and it didn't work or a relationship didn't work, learn whatever, you need to learn from that relationship and move on with your life. And yeah, and be kind. Be kind and compassionate with yourself. And always remain true to yourself and your values no matter what you do. Like if you're in a relationship, I mean, this applies to everything, whether it's a relationship or a job, always stay true to yourself. If you're in a relationship and that relationship doesn't, you don't feel like that relationship is aligned to you anymore, like have the courage to walk away from something that's not, aligned to yourself, right? And in a relationship, like two people that are in a relationship, like the two people in the relationship, they grow and evolve all the time. And then the relationship grows and evolves all the time. And sometimes two people grow and evolve together, and sometimes they grow and evolve apart, right? So that's just, it's just part of life. But the better, the more aligned you are with yourself, the better the relationship is with yourself, then you'll have like the strength and the confidence to do what is right for you, in any relationship and in any situation that you are in your life. And of course, the more aligned you are to yourself, the better everything will flow in your life. So vision boards. This is an exercise that I love doing, that I do with all of my clients. So it's to create a vision board with images of the life that you would like to create. So you go through magazines and you cut out images that you like, and you think about the different areas of your life, like relationships, self-development, career, travel, hobbies, health, finances, social life, family, fun, creativity, like all the different aspects of your life. So you cut out like all these different images that you like, and then you can take, like a piece of cardboard or like a poster board, and then you start putting like all these images, on that board, and you basically like create a collage of like your dream life. And you can put this, you can put this somewhere where you see it every day. It can be like in your bedroom or your living room. And then the things that you put on this vision board, you know like you have to have a vision of what it is that you want, right? But you don't need to know how these things are going to happen, right? The most important thing is to have the vision, to know what you want, and to believe that it's possible, and to also believe that you're worthy of receiving whatever it is, that you want to receive, right? Because like when you have this vision and when you're aligned, with yourself, and you believe that it's possible and you're worthy of receiving this, the universe will bring people, events, and circumstances into your life which will help you achieve whatever goal you have, right? And I've seen, many times people don't allow themselves to have these big dreams because they automatically think like, oh, well, this isn't possible for me. Like, why am I even gonna, dream this? Like, it's completely impossible for me, right? So if you think that way and you don't even give yourself, permission to have a big dream, then obviously it's not going to happen, right? Because it's like you're canceling it out yourself. So give yourself permission to dream big. And I've seen amazing things happen with these vision boards. I had a client that she did a vision board and she manifested everything on that vision board in 1 year. Doesn't always happen that fast, but it can happen that fast. And she did, she put very big things on this. Like she put that she was moving to another country and she was going to get a new job and buy a new apartment and a new boyfriend, and she made it all happen, which was really amazing. And when she made this vision board, she had no idea how all of those things were going to happen, but they did, because we co-create our lives all the time, right? It's like we co-create our lives, with the universe. And it's amazing. It's amazing the kind of things that you can co-create into your life. So stay open to magic. Stay open to magic and life surprising you. There's so much magic out there. Even now in this crazy 2020 Corona year, even now there's magic out there, and life can surprise you in the most amazing way. And your whole life can change like in 1 second. You can meet somebody and your life changes, or you get a new job and your life changes. I mean, like, life is just like an ever evolving, ever growing journey, right? Full of twists and turns, of course. But yeah, stay open to magic and life surprising you, and believe in the magic. Believe that amazing things are possible, because they are. I mean, I experience it in my own life all the time, and I see magical things happen in my clients' lives as well. So I offer coaching sessions in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. If you want to get in touch with me for a session, my email is lauracoaching@gmail.com, and my website is laurarininkoski.com. So thank you very much. And now I can take some questions.
Okay, first let me stop the recording.